Already know. Okay. How are you getting your service calls? You're just accidentally running into them, or?
Yep.
Okay, if you're accidentally running into service calls, then you may want to pay attention to the first page on that phone approach. There's just a little phone approach for accidentally running into service calls. I don't really need to cover that now, but for the most part, I think a lot of you are probably even calling people you've been referred to that have Cutco, or pink slips or service call lists from the manager. So, okay. Roll it. All right, guys. What we're going to do is just go ahead and dive right into exactly how to do a service call. I'll show you how to do some of the sharpening techniques the way that I do it, and then I'll show you how we build the order and close the order and close the sale. Matt's right. I sell on almost every one of my service calls, maybe not super gigantic orders, but to me, they're the easiest sales you can come across because they're already sold on the product. So really, it's not a question of whether they're going to buy it, it's what they're going to buy at that point. I think to start off with, I have to have my disclaimer, and I always say when you do a service call, guys, it's service first. It really is. You have to switch your mindset on a demo. You know, they kind of know that they're signing up for a sales pitch, okay? When they know there's a college kid coming over saying, hey, you know, we're going to do this presentation for my scholarship, they kind of know you're doing a sales presentation. But on a service call, when you're saying, oh, I'll come over and sharpen and take care of your knives, you have to go in the service first mentality, but that doesn't mean that you can't sell them a lot of Cutco. Just, you don't ever want to come across like you're just there to sell them more stuff, okay? So that's why a lot of my conversation with the customer in the very beginning is a lot about their Cutco and, you know, how do they like it and what they're using it for, and I'll go over some of these questions here in a bit. But the first key you see here is the biggest tip on selling big on service calls is to get most of the blue book in your sample kit. I know a lot of you are new, so you know, chances are you don't have a lot of accessories, but get as many accessories as you can in your sample kit, because the more you have to show the customer, the more you will sell, because again, our product sells itself. So a lot of times all you have to do is stick an ice cube in an ice cream scoop and it's on the wish list, or cut a potato with a cheese knife and it's on the wish list. So literally the product will sell itself, but you got to have the product. So some really cool ways you can do that is when I'm in your fast start, for those of you who are in the fast start, or set up some really cool contests with Matt. He loves to give away free stuff. It kind of runs in our family. So get as much as you can in your set, and then also learn proper sharpening techniques, which I'm going to go over here in a second. While I'm sharpening, step one here, you build rapport while sharpening, and you get a testimonial. Now, there's two kinds of rapport you build on a service call. Regular rapport, you can sprinkle that in, but I like to build what I call Cutco rapport. So building rapport at a service call is a little bit different. It's not all about, you know, where they're from, where they went to school. I think a lot of the sell is made in the beginning on the questions that you ask the customer. So I wrote here, asking the right questions will make the sell for you. Question number one, how long have you had Cutco? Number two, how did you get it? I like to just get them talking about their Cutco. The most important thing when I get there is I ask them to tell me their Cutco story. And this does a lot of things, guys. It gets them opening up, talking about the first experience that they had, you know, rehashing some of those feelings they had about helping out the first college kid the first time around. So you want to just get them thinking about that positive experience that they experienced before and kind of bringing that to the top of their mind. Find out how they got it. The reason I ask this is because you want to know if they saw the demo. Have you guys ever ran into a service call that didn't see a demo? Maybe they got it as a gift. Did you shock them with the prices? Why? Because they didn't go through all the value building in the demo. Okay, they got it as a gift for a wedding present or a hand-me-down. They have no idea what it cost. So a lot of times you'll have to go back and kind of build rapport throughout the service call. Build value throughout the service call as well. So you're asking these questions while you're building rapport to really find out who it is you're talking to, gauge them, kind of take their temperature, so to speak, on how they love their Cutco, what they're using them for, how they got them. A lot of times they'll tell you some fun story about the college kids. You want to rehash, again, some of those good memories. So that's a lot of the questions we ask here. So if it was a gift, you want to build value. Okay, Matt loves this one. The next question, I always ask for stuff they don't have. Okay, and here's why. So let's say you first walk in and the knives are sitting out like this. Have you guys ever experienced that?
Yep.
Okay, and the knives are just kind of spread out. Well, I always pretend that that's not all they have. Okay, I'm just assuming that they have more. So what I do is I say, oh, okay, cool. Oh, you got your scissors. Don't you love these? You cut pennies, la la la. Have fun. but I always ask for other stuff. Let's say they didn't have the scissors. I always say, oh yeah, go ahead and grab your shears. I can sharpen those as well. Or, hey, go ahead and grab your table knives. I can sharpen those as well. Or, oh, you're missing your trimmer, the little one. Is it in the dishwasher? Okay, but it has to be really nonchalant and really natural, like I'm legitimately expecting them to have it. Okay, and a lot of times I'm right. They have it and it is in the dishwasher. Or they had it but lost it but didn't remember they lost it. Okay, sometimes that happens too, where it's like, yeah, I did have that little paring knife. Where did that go? And then they run around like a chicken with their head cut off finding it, and then all of a sudden they're missing terribly. They're missing something they didn't even know they were missing a second ago. But now they're actually, not only are they missing it, but they miss it. Does that make sense to you guys? Like they're like, oh my God, where's my paring knife? I need my paring knife. Okay, and if it's gone, guess what? You could sell them. So a lot of these things are just, I mean, I'm not selling, I'm just simply having a conversation, and I'm service oriented. I'm there to sharpen all of their Cutco, and I'm assuming that it's not all out here. Does that make sense to you guys, the philosophy behind this? Okay, so I'll move on after that point, but two things I always sell in a service call if they don't have it, and that's a block and a cutting board, because it's two things I asked for in the beginning as well. I simply tell them, oh, okay, go ahead and grab your block too so I can inspect that, because obviously the block's not sitting here. If they had a block, it'd be sitting here, okay? When they tell me they don't have a block, the look on my face lets them know that I don't like that. Okay, I don't say anything, but they can say, they always go immediately, oh, I know, it's not good, I just throw them in the drawer, no one wants to do that. And I literally just tell them in the most professional way I can that, well, honestly speaking, Mr. Jones, you do need some proper storage, only because it honestly does me no good to sharpen all the knives if you're just going to throw them back in the drawer, because that's what dulled them to begin with. Okay, so I'm just really upfront with them. And then I add on to that, because you don't want to make them feel bad without making them feel good again. So I add on to that. So we do need to get you some proper storage. I've got a lot of different options I can show you. The blocks are on sale, but if you didn't want to spend the money, you don't have to. We have these storage trays that are next to nothing. I might even be able to do those for free. So I just kind of throw that out there, that I might even give them the storage tray for free. Okay? I might even just be able to give you one of those for free. I'll show you. I'll show you later on. I kind of always plant the seed, but then really quickly back away from it. It's like, oh yeah, the blocks are on sale today. We have some storage trays. I might even be able to throw one of those in for free, but I'll show you later. Because I'm back to, getting down to why I'm there. Okay, so it's little seeds that you plant along the way so that they don't really think you're doing a sales pitch, but you're planting seeds that make sense. Does that make sense to you guys? So, this is all, these are all the questions I'm asking while I'm sharpening. So what's cool about this is I'm working and I'm selling while I'm there sharpening. So the thing about it is, the sharpening takes your time. So you want to be able to, be doing something else, making the sell down the road while you're doing the sharpening. So I'm going to pause right there, speaking of sharpening, because I want to make sure that we do this. And teach you guys how to sharpen. White sticks are for the double D edges. Okay, white sticks are for the double D edges. The side that's going to be touching this right side of the double D edge is going to be flat, and then you're going to have a point on this side, on the other side. Okay? And how you do the double D edge is you hold it, actually, yeah, that's right. Looks funny for a minute. You're going to hold it straight up and down. You're not going to tilt it either way. You just want to hold it as straight up and down as you can, and you want to line up the points in between the grooves. So you line the points in between the grooves. Okay, it's very simple, but I mean, you do have to pay attention to what you're doing. The thing about the double D edge though is you really actually don't have to go through and sharpen each one of the grooves if it's relatively a sharp knife. Okay, feel that, here's how you want to learn how to feel. Take the back of your hand and run it this way on the knife and see if you feel any burrs. Okay, what happens when the double D edge dulls is that actually it's just the points going this way. Okay, so if you can run your finger like this and you don't feel any burrs, it's probably a really sharp knife. A lot of times what you can do, if it's relatively like 2, 3, 4 years old, you can actually just take the burrs off like that, so you actually don't have to go through. This is better for when the knife is starting to dull a little more and it needs to be touched up in between. You'll be able to tell the more knives that you see. Okay, so let's say you're sharpening. You go through each and every individual you know, kind of an up and down motion. I'll do it a couple times.
How many times do you go up and down on each?
Just like this. Up, down, move, up, down, move, up, down, move. So, and then of course when I get to that point, I'll move my hand to have better guidance.
How much pressure do you put on?
Not a lot. Good question. I don't use a lot of pressure. You don't want to use a lot of pressure, or you'll end up just kind of doing more messing up than good. So you want to go through each individual, you know, groove, and then take the burrs that you've now built up, and then just start from the bottom and pull up. And you want to use a good amount of pressure, but you're not bearing down by any means. Okay? Any questions on the double D edge? Okay. Another tip, take a wet paper towel and a dry paper towel. So when you first get there and you're still asking them, oh, you know, grab your block and your shears and your cutting board. By the way, I always ask for the cutting board so I can see what they're using. So if they use glass, you've got to tell them not to use glass cutting boards. In a nutshell, it's really horrible for the knives. It will dull them instantly, and that's what dulled them in the first place if they're dull. So ask for a wet paper towel. Take and wipe it off with a wet paper towel and then a dry paper towel, and that's going to clean off all this metal residue. Okay? Straight edges. The gray sticks. Now these, you just point in. So on the inside, it's a point on both sides. Does that make sense? Alright. Don't get confused because these have grooves. I don't know really why they did that actually. It's very confusing. But on the straight edges, again, you hold it completely perpendicular. Don't angle it any way. The thing about the angle is this is already at a 28-degree angle. So it's already at the angle it needs to be. So you just hold it perfectly straight. Start from the bottom. Go to the top. Start from the bottom. Go to the top. Sounds like it's actually sharpening pretty good. Okay, and then do it on the other side. This varies how often, how many times I'll do it on both sides. On the straight edges, again, wet paper towel, dry paper towel. I even still use the white sharpener that customers can buy. I have both of those on a service call because this will sharpen it and that will hone it. Okay, you can take a piece of paper and cut a piece of paper and now you've done a good job. Okay, you always cut the paper at an angle, by the way. Okay, you can test the edge by running your finger this way, not this way, obviously. So yeah, just start from the bottom, pull up. Now I have seen other people start from the top and push down. I don't really know if there's a difference there, but that just feels really awkward to me. And it does feel like this moves. So at least this way I don't feel like anything's moving. Does anybody sharpen it like this?
Yeah, I do. Like with the U, half U going backwards from the top.
Oh, and go down.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's as easy to mess up a straight edge as it would be a double D edge. I think as long as you're not holding it at an angle, I don't think it matters if you go bottom up or top down or I don't think that matters as long as you're holding it straight, not holding it like this or holding it too far like this. Okay. For me, what's most comfortable and what feels more sturdy is to start from the bottom and do this. Yeah, plus that, I just feel like I'd stab. Okay, so to each his own there. But most importantly with the double D edge is the one you really want to be careful on. Okay? So that's sharpening. Any questions on that?
How do you do the scissors?
Oh, great question.
Is it going to take forever?
No. The thing about the scissors is I really try to stay away from that. And if they really need their scissors sharpened, you actually have to send them back to the factory because there's no way you can sharpen one side but not the other side.
Okay.
So sometimes just, for good measure, I'll take it on the straight edge, take the straight edge side of the scissors. And same kind of thing if I just only on the one side and then wipe them off and stick them back together. But the scissors are interesting because they rarely need to be sharpened, and when they do, they really should get back to the factory. What more of the time happens than not with the scissors is, yeah, and it gets either really, really loose or really, really tight. Again, has to go back to the factory. So these are so very heavy duty that really, when they need service, they need service. So I try to just touch them up for, if they're good, then maybe run them through a couple times so they think you sharpened them. Which you do. You kind of hone it a little bit, and wipe it off and stick it back together, and you're good to go.
Those are considered double D? Or?
Well, not really. There's one straight edge and one serrated edge, really.
Yeah.
Kind of. Just little fine
I thought they
teeth.
called that micro bevel bead.
No, that's a cheese knife.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what this is, but it doesn't matter. All right, moving on.
That'd be sick.
What?
They had double use scissors though.
You cut your finger off.
The chrome
The chrome ones were interesting. Okay, so back on asking the right questions will make the sale for you. So while you're sharpening, you're asking these questions. Another couple questions here that I've listed. Obviously, this is after you're asking, where's your block? Assuming they already have these things. Do you feel it's a good investment? Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm kind of going through the main parts of the the main parts of the demo in a really, really quick fashion here. So what you want to do is ask, do they feel it's a good investment? What you're doing there is reaffirming their decision they make the first time around to buy. Saying the word investment is also doing what? Building value. The word investment makes it sound really expensive. Do you think it was a good investment? And of course, they're going to say, yeah, best thing I've ever bought in my kitchen, blah, blah, blah. I think this is where Con Foster would get the customer on a testimonial. Okay? So this is also where once they start answering this question, all right, your immediate response should be, wow, that sounded really good, Ms. Jones. Do you mind if I ask you a favor? Get them to write a testimonial and basically just get them to jot down whatever they just said. Just say, hey, I'd love to put that in my book. I'd love to show that to other Cutco or other people when I show them Cutco. You don't have to write down everything you said, but you think you could jot down a couple of those sentences, and then after they start writing, tell them what you want them to write. Yeah, just put what you said about it being a good value, best thing you ever bought in your kitchen. Do you think it was worth the money? Write that in there too. Okay, so after you get them writing, then you can kind of brainstorm with them what you want them to write. But always get a testimonial. Also, big thing to do while you're sharpening. Okay, this is what you want to do while you're sharpening each piece is ask them what they're using it for. Okay, because this is where you're going to make a lot of your sales. Because 9 times out of 10, they're using the wrong tool for the wrong job. Okay, so let's say the trimmer. Okay, that's the classic one. Let's say you're sharpening the trimmer and the tip is more dull than the back. Classic example that they're chopping their vegetables with their trimmer. Because they're banging the tip of the trimmer into the cutting board, and that's why it's more dull at the end than the back. Okay, so while you're sharpening the trimmer, just say, oh, so which one's your favorite one? Okay, that one you have in your hand. I love that. I use it for everything. Like, yeah, that's what I thought. And they're like, why, what's wrong? Just educate them. Just say, well, I can actually tell the front half of your trimmer is a lot more dull than the back half. By any chance, are you using this to chop vegetables? Yeah, head nod. And they're going to say, oh yeah, I use that for everything. Okay. Well, this technically is just made for trimming fat off meats, slicing tomatoes, lemons, limes, oranges, small fruits and vegetables. It's not really the best one used for chopping. And if they have the chef knife, show them how to properly use a chef knife. But if they have a chef knife and they're not using it, chances are A, they don't know how to use it, or B, it's not the right size for them. So guess what else you can sell them? For petite santoku. Okay? So again, just educate them, find out why they're not using the pieces they're not using, or why they're misusing the pieces they are. But the key to the service call when you start going through names and uses is to remember what they said they were using the wrong ones for, and you sell them off of the pieces they already have and onto the pieces they don't. So when they tell you they're chopping up their carrots and onions with their trimmer, you're going to show them a santoku or a chef knife down, when we get to the demo part. Does that make sense to you guys? Or a lot of times they do have this and they're not using it to chop. They're probably using it to carve. So they're using it as a carving knife.
Always.
And it's dull because it's come in contact with plates and bones, and it's just really horrendous, the blade. So if it's overly dull and they say they don't chop vegetables with it, say, what are you using this thing for? It's just really, really dull. Okay, and remember that you guys are the knife experts. So when you're there sharpening them, they're going to take whatever you say seriously. So when I say that this is more dull than what I'm used to seeing, they probably realize that I've seen quite a few and I should know what I'm talking about. And when I tell them that they're using it the wrong way, they're, you see what I'm saying? You got to speak from a point of expertise when you're on a service call. So a lot of times you're going to find out they're using their chef knives as carving knives, they're using their paring knives as trimmers, and they're using their trimmer knives as chef knives. Does that make sense to you guys? So this is why in this part of the service call, just while you're sharpening, say, oh yeah, what do you use this one for? What do you use this one for? Okay, and you'll hear crazy things like, oh, I never use that one. Really? Why is it so dull? Okay, they're using it for something. Oh, well, I sliced a watermelon with it. Really? With this one? You know, and you can sell them off of the pieces that they have and onto pieces they don't have later on in the service call. Okay, so that's all the building rapport section. Okay, do you guys see how much work that you're doing in building rapport? On a demo, you're building rapport. You know, you're drinking lemonade and coffee and talking about pictures on the wall and football teams and last night's game and that sort of thing. And on a service call, you're there for business. You're not there to shoot the crap. You're there to enjoy the time that you're spending with the customer, but you're working through every part of the conversation. Does that make sense to you guys? Any questions on this point? No questions on this point. Okay.
I mean, I'm sure people get this, but what happens what's something that you do if you come in and the knives are like, all right, yeah, go and sharpen the knives, I'll be in the other room.
Okay, that's fine too. Now, because that's a great question because that happens a lot. Okay, that's fine. You want to be able to kind of go with the flow and not make a big deal that they need to be there. The best part is to try to intrigue them from the beginning with some sort of a conversation to get them to sit down with you, but a lot of times I've been left alone. The whole thing is if they say, hey, I'm going to be just in this room doing work or whatever, is that okay? I'll just simply say, yeah, that's fine while I'm sharpening, but just so you know, I am going to need you in a couple minutes to just go over some warranty information with you and show you a couple new products, okay? So for like 5 or 10 minutes, but I'll call you when I'm ready. Okay, so you set the expectation that, yeah, you are going to eventually need to speak with them, and if that doesn't, and here's what happens. If they say, well, I'm not going to be able to do that, I'm going to be on a conference call, or I've got to run out, reschedule the appointment, okay? Because, yes, you're there to provide them a service, but they also owe you at least respect to sit down with you. And a lot of times, sometimes, I shouldn't say a lot of times, sometimes that could happen where they miss the point there, and they just kind of think you're like the termite guy or something. Okay, so a lot. Again, that doesn't happen a lot, but you can see. You just don't blame the customer. Obviously, in a demo, you set up a time. They know you're going to speak with them and go over stuff. And I think most of them get it, but sometimes they don't. And also, if they've left you at home with the husband, reschedule the appointment. And I just simply say, my main point is not to try to sell you stuff, but I do have to go over, warranty information with you, go over some stuff about the knives, and I do show a couple new pieces. You don't have to get anything. I just do it for everybody just to show you what's out there. So if you're not the one that cooks and you don't really use the knives, then I'd rather reschedule a time where Mrs. Jones is going to be here. So just tell her I stopped by, and I'll give her a call to reschedule. A lot of times the husbands are like, sweet, I'm off the hook. Okay? So just be professional with the way that you're just really upfront with your intentions. My intention is not to try to sell you everything, but I am going to go over a couple of things, and I definitely need to go over warranty information with you. Okay, so using the warranty, I call it warranty information. Using warranty information is a way.
How about with the wife? How do you tell her that you want to reschedule? I mean, that's just...
How you tell the wife you want to reschedule?
Yeah, like if she's on a conference call.
You say, oh, if it's a bad time, why don't I just come back another time, because I am going to need about 10 to 15 minutes of your time. Do you want me to come back later on this afternoon, or I can come tomorrow? I'll be really flexible. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had a conference call.
Okay.
You just want me to call you later? Okay, all right, cool. Have a good day. Whatever. Just, take control of it. It's not really that. Just don't. If you don't make a big issue out of it, they won't make a big issue out of it. The thing of it is you definitely want to set the right expectation there. All right. Great. So that's all building rapport and, asking the right questions. So this is how I transition into it. Again, I went in service-minded first, asking them questions about their knives, basically getting them talking, answering questions that they have. I always ask them, like, hey, are you having any problems with any of them? So there's just, a lot that can be done there. The way I transition, especially if they're up, like, floating around, this is how you get them to sit down and focus. After I finish sharpening, I wipe everything off, clean it off, go put it back on the counter or wherever. And then they usually say something like, okay, well, cool, thank you so much. And I'm like, yeah, you're so welcome, thank you. Well, hey, real quick. And you just bring them right back in. Well, hey, real quick, do you have a quick second? Okay, because what I'm going to do now, what I normally do on my service visits after I've finished with the sharpening is I just like to go over all the warranty information with you. And what I do for most people is I'll just kind of flip through real quick through the rest of the book to show you a couple new things. And what I like to do for most of my customers is just make you a wish list of anything you may want to know a price on for the future. It's not stuff you have to get, just stuff you want to know a price on, and that way at least you have the prices, okay? And it's just more of a head nod, guys, and I just literally am reaching for my blue book at that same time while I'm saying that, okay? I don't get someone telling me no or whatever, but if I did, that's where I would, you have to kind of hone them in. It's like, oh, just real quick, 5 or 10 minutes. And sometimes I say, I'm not going to be doing that whole long, boring presentation or something like that. Question?
It's happened to me a couple times. The customer just keeps asking how much is that one, or like different points at different knives. And what do you tell them?
Oh, as you're going through the service call? Well, if they're like, oh, I like that, how much is that one? Just like,
Yeah, it's way dumb.
yeah. Like it just left your head, I don't know, I'll look it up for you. But see, I don't get that because I'm making the wish list from the beginning. Okay? I don't get that often, I should say. Because, sometimes, yeah, oh, I like that, how much is that one? And then sometimes my answer is like, I don't, like, retail, like in the catalog, I think it's like 66 or something, but you're a past customer, that means you get a good deal, or something like that. So I just kind of tell them something, but maybe evade the question a little bit, but mostly refer it back to the wish list. I'm like, well, obviously, is that on your wish list? I'll write down the price for you. So that leads me into the wish list in a few minutes. So, okay, so basically transitioning into the service call demo is just saying, hey, do you have a quick second? That's if they're up, like, running about. If they're sitting in front of you, it's like, okay, cool, well, what I'm going to do now, or what I do for most people, is just kind of go through the warranty information with you, and then what I do for most people is just flip through. What I do for most people is just flip through the catalog, show a couple of new items. There's actually one really cool that I think you like. And a lot of times I plant these seeds, by the way, when they're telling me they're using the wrong thing for the wrong thing. Or if they tell me they have a problem cutting potatoes. Or when I say, do you have a problem with any of the knives? Or is there anything you're having a problem using with the knives? Yeah, I just can't seem to cut, radishes or potatoes or turnips or whatever. It's like, oh, we actually make a really good one for that. I'll show it to you. So I think the reason why I do well in the service call is I'm really upfront about, I am still a salesperson, but here I'm mostly here to take care of you. But I definitely am not going to be shy about showing you new stuff too. So it's kind of just an air or a confident thing that I have going on with a customer, which you can have that too. Okay, so that's the transition. The first thing you'd show them would be your scholarship and your goals. Okay, again, to kind of reiterate the point that, hey, I am, just like the first time around where you help the kid out, I'm in the same boat, and basically I provide you a good service, but you explain your scholarship, and then you kind of add this little phrase at the end. And the way it works is they do pay me just to do the sharpening for them, just like they say, they pay me just to do the presentation first time around. They pay me just to do the sharpening for them, but the scholarship is actually based on sales. What I found is that most people actually didn't end up getting everything they wanted from Cutco the first time around. So chances are you might see something you want to add to your collection. If so, that's great. I'll give you a really good deal because you're a past customer, but if not, totally no big deal. Wow. Again, really low key. Really low key. Really low key. Everything you say is planting a seed for selling and then backing off. Really low key. So you just basically tell them, hey, I just sharpened your knives for free. Didn't cost you anything. I'm a student, just like the first guy, first time around. I'm working on a scholarship. It is based on sales. Chances are you probably didn't get everything you wanted the first time around. Chances are there's some new stuff you might want to add to your collection. If so, great, you'll get a discount. If not, no big deal. Okay, that's the mentality behind the words that you're saying. Okay? So at that point, so now you're at company page on the scholarship, then you flip all the way past junk knives, past features and benefits. Boom, now you're on the warranty. So you're skipping through, and then you can make kind of a big deal about skipping the presentation if you want, like slowly turning the pages, skip that, okay, because it makes it sound really short. Then you have, question?
Do you skip the company page and you don't?
Well, you're on the
mention
company
better
page,
business?
really. You're on the company page when
Okay.
you show your scholarship.
Oh, okay.
But you're not going through any of that. No, you're not doing a demo.
You're not going to plant the seed, I need recommendations, or no?
You can. You can, but you're not going through, just, company history, been around since 1949. You're not doing a demo. They've already seen a demo. So this is how you actually do a service call demo. You cover your scholarship, and at that point you can also plant the seed for Rex, if that's what you like to do, which is not a bad idea, actually.
You do it at the end.
I get Rex at the end, yeah. And I
Because
just...
they should kind of study, right? Because they've done it before.
Exactly. They've given Rex before. The first guy that did the demo asked for Rex. So I'll talk about getting Rex here in a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Are you going to ask me about Rex?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's let's stay on track here, guys, just because this is going to be really hard for someone on that camera to follow along if we keep asking questions. But when we get to the end, I'll probably have answered some of your questions, and if not, I'll take questions at that point, okay? So, basically, going through the goals, then you flip through, now you're on the warranty. Now, I do go through the warranty word for word, the guarantee. So now we're on Forever Guarantee. And again, I'm just saying, okay, so what I'm going to do is just go over all your warranty information with you just to make sure that you really understand everything. And I flip it around to them and I go through it, kind of point by point. Forever Performance Guarantee. If any point in time anything happens to your Cutco, remember that's guaranteed forever. So if you chip a tip or crack a handle, or if they have an example of it, a lot of times they'll have an example of something that needs to get sent back to the factory. Do you see how this is actually missing the tip right here? Okay, well, remember that that's covered by the warranty. Show them the address. Have them get out their address book and write down the company address. Because if the address book's out, what are you getting at the end? You're getting Rex, and there's our address book. So this is where I have them get out their address, write their address, the company address, and say, yeah, here's how you want to do this. Take the newspaper, wrap this up in newspaper, tape it up, stick it in a padded envelope. I mean, you don't have to do anything real fancy, Miss Jones. Just wrap it up, make sure the blade's not loose, and just wrap it up, mail it to this address right there. Go ahead and write that in your address book. Make sure you add 50 cents or $1 for insurance, and the knife will come back brand new. And by the way, that's like a $100 knife, Miss Jones. You'll get brand new just because it's warranted. So take care of any warranty issues. Okay, if they don't have anything broken, you don't have anything to use there, then that's fine. Just say, okay, so if anything ever happens, even if your husband uses this to pry open a paint can and chips a tip, it's okay. You don't have to tell the company anything, just wrap it up and send it off, okay? Sharpness guarantee. Obviously, we recommend that you sharpen them every, now let's say they've had them for 5 years. I would say we recommend you sharpen them every, 5-6 years, maybe every 3 to 5 years if they just have a few pieces. But what I'd recommend now, Miss Jones, is alternating the factory sharpening with the in-home sharpening. So what I just did for you now was I did an in-home sharpening. The next 3 to 5 years, just take them all out of the block, wrap them up in newspaper, stick them in a flat rate box at the post office, send them off to this address. It's really, really simple. It takes about 10 to 14 days. They literally apply brand new edges for everything, polish, rebuff the handles, and send them right back to you. You'll think they sent you brand new knives, Miss Jones. It is the best service. Now, I sharpen them today, but I don't have all the equipment the company does. So they're about maybe 75 to 80% now. When you send them back to the factory, they come back 100%. So I would recommend next time around doing that. By the way, sometimes, guys, you can do a service call and get out of sharpening the knives completely. If the knives are bad, and I meant to say this when I was talking about sharpening the knives, if you can look at that and say, and really know that there's not much you can do for those knives, they've had them 10 years, they're really dull, okay, don't even try to sharpen them, just say, okay, pull out your warranty information at that point and say, hey, let me just go ahead and go through the warranty with you. I honestly, you have two options with the sharpening. I can sharpen these today. Looking at them, it's going to take probably about 45 minutes to maybe an hour, and I could probably only get these to maybe 60-75%. Here's the other option, and go through the warranty with them. And a lot of times I'll just say, okay, well, we'll just wrap them up. And what you do is you wrap them up for them. Don't send them. Don't take them. Do not take them. You guys hear me? But you say, hey, go ahead and grab me a newspaper. Grab a newspaper, or just wrap it up in newspaper, make like a Cutco burrito, tape it up, get a piece of paper, write, Dear Cutco, please refurbish and send to, write the customer name and their address, stick it, with the burrito, and get a plastic bag and tie it all up so it's all packaged and bundled and tied up, and then just drop it at the front door. Okay, take that to the post office tomorrow, Miss Jones. Because the thing of it is, if you just say, yes, send these back to the company, they're going to sit there. They're not sending them back because they're just not going to do it. That's why they haven't done it yet. Okay? So, by the way, again, service first. And I always just say, I totally don't mind trying to do this for you today, but I can tell, maybe there's been a glass cutting board involved, or, these are really dull, Miss Jones. Got to say, you probably due for sharpening about 5 years ago. So, I think it's better if we send these back to the factory. So, again, you're the expert. If they're open to it, if they're like, oh no, I'm not sending anything away, okay, cool, well, something's better than nothing, right? And just start sharpening. So, where was I? We were talking about the guarantee, yeah. So, that's the sharpness part of the guarantee. You want to instruct them that it's $9 to ship everything back. And what I do is just say, yeah, you might get this little invoice that says, please remit $9. You can just pay that back to the factory when you get them back. So they can either put a check in there to begin with, or they can pay it when they get back. Anyways, that's all small stuff. You don't really, it's not that big of a deal. Last part of the guarantee, 15-day unconditional money-back guarantee. That's where, again, another sales pitch, quote-unquote, is planted for me. Basically, I tell them in the 15-day unconditional money-back guarantee that this is for any new stuff that you see today, or at any point in time in the future that you like and may want to try out. What the company will do is send it to you, let you use it for 3 whole weeks just to get in the kitchen, try it out, see what you think about it, compare it to the knives you already have. If you get anything at home that you don't like or you won't use, it's 100% refundable or exchangeable. And of course, you know, if you don't like it, we can just refund it. So you just tell them that whatever they see today is kind of risk-free to try out. And I always plant the seed for cookware and this part of the guarantee as well. Like, yeah, isn't that really cool? Did you know we have cookware, by the way, Ms. Jones? No? Okay. Well, I'll tell you about that. But the cookware is fantastic. What I think is great about this part of the warranty, they'll actually let you cook in our cookware for 3 whole weeks just to try it out and see what you think about it. You don't have to buy it. You can just literally try it out. It's really cool. So, anyways, at this point, guys, I take the guarantee and literally just flip, and that's where you're at the homemaker page or the ultimate page, whatever you have in your handout, and then that's where you sell. Here's the big tip to the service call. Are you guys ready for this? This is how you sell on a service call. At this point, what I do is I take my notepad and I pull it out. It's like, okay, cool. Well, like I said, Ms. Jones, what I'm going to do now is just quickly breeze through the catalog real quick. And what I do for most of my customers is I just make you a quick wish list of anything you may want to know a price on. I'm not going to do like this full-blown presentation. I'm just going to show you a couple of things. But we'll make it real fun. We'll make you a wish list. So I write Susan's wish list, whatever their name is, up top. And then I make a T-graph. Okay? Yes and maybe. This is totally not the time to go to the bathroom, guys, because this is good stuff. Alright, so this is what the T-graph looks like. Do you guys see this? Alright. Oh. Okay, that works too. Alright, so, but the way I do it with the customers is I kind of have fun with it. Like, okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to have a little fun with this, Susan. I'm going to make you a wish list. It's not stuff you have to get, just stuff you want to know a price on. How many times have I said, it's not stuff you have to get, don't worry, just give me a price on it. I'll make you a yes side and maybe. Yes doesn't mean yes, I'll buy it. Just means yes, you'd use it if you had it. And the maybes are the pieces that are like, I don't know, maybe like in the future if it were free. Okay? So boom. Basically, you go through the homemaker page or, you know, ultimate, if you have the whole ultimate brochure. Basically, you just tell them that you'll jot down the pieces and that you go through names and uses, guys, on the pieces they don't have. And it's a yes or a maybe. Okay, so basically what I do is I always have my one go-to piece. For me, it's a cheese knife. Okay, for you, it may be something else, but I always show like a cheese knife, a Petite Santoku, but I have these in my kit. So I say, hey, remember how the trimmer was your favorite knife? Okay, grab a potato. Try this. Have them cut a potato with the trimmer, and then cut a potato with a cheese knife, and then you could, I mean, it's just a can of worms there. They're like, that's a definite yes. Okay, so basically I just tell them how I love the cheese knife. It has holes, nothing sticks to it. It's twice as sharp as the trimmer. And I just sharpened their trimmer, right? And they just try it on the potato, and then they try a cheese knife, and it's like butter. So you get them excited about that one go-to piece is what I call it. Okay? So what I like to do, there's a couple different ways you can do this, but what I like to do is I like to show them like 2 or 3 or 4 different knives and forget that I even said anything about the wish list. So it's almost like I'm losing track because I'm getting so excited about some of the new pieces I'm showing them. And then I'll show them 2 or 3 or 4 pieces, and then I'll inevitably get the question like, oh yeah, I like this, how much is this one? And then I'm like, oh, I forgot about your wish list. Oh, okay, so let's stop for a minute, Ms. Jones. Okay? And you don't have to, I know I probably made that sound really kind of blonde, but you don't have to make it sound like that. You can just go for a little while and say, okay, oh, by the way, so let's back up a little bit. So about the wish list. So again, yeses are the pieces I showed you that you would use if you had them, and the maybes are the ones that you're a little iffy on. So the cheese knife, is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Traditional cheese. Okay, what about this guy? The Petite Santoku. Is that a yes?
Eh.
Eh?
I guess a maybe.
It's a maybe? Okay. Oh yeah, let's role play this. This might end up really good. Okay, now, remember how I said you were using your trimmer for chopping?
Yes.
Okay. What did you think about the chef knife? Did you like the Petite Chef?
I like the Petite Chef.
Okay, you do like that one, so that one's a yes. So the smaller one, the Petite Santoku, is a maybe, but you
It's a
definitely
maybe.
like the okay. What about, remember how you said you butterfly chicken? Okay, what about the boning knife?
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I've already showed the boning knife here at this point, I'm just saying. So the boning knife, the one for the raw meat,
Yes.
you'd use that one, okay. Okay, cool. Alright, now let's pretend let's pretend I've showed her like a 4-inch paring knife and a bird's beak. Okay, what about either of these two?
The 4-inch.
You like the 4-inch. What about the bird's beak?
Mm,
No?
I don't really see myself using
You don't
that.
think you'd use that? Is it a, okay, is it a no, or is it like a maybe? Like maybe
It's,
you'd use it?
maybe.
Okay, cool. Alright, cool. Alright. And time out. Okay, so that's exactly what I do, too, by the way. Okay? Is it a no, or is it like a maybe? Like maybe. Okay, like maybe every once in a while. Like butcher knife or hardy slicer. Actually, hardy slicer is always a yes for me. But it plays out just like that, guys. Show a grouping of knives. Okay, now, I do service calls a little differently. A lot of people like to go for the straight immediate upsell. Like, oh, okay, you have a studio, and I'm going to upgrade you to a homemaker. That's not how I do it. How I do it is I get like 3 or 4 or 5 knives on the wish list, and then I'm like, oh, we're going to have anywhere to put them. Let's talk about the block. Okay, so now at this point, after I got 2 or 3 or 4 knives on the wish list, what I would say is like, okay, what about, and then of course I'm looking at the book here, like, oh, you know what about a block? You know, we have a great deal on upgrading the block. If you did eventually get some of these pieces down the road, would you want a bigger block to put them all in, or would you just throw them in the door? Oh, yeah, I'd probably do a bigger block. Okay, and then once you add the bigger block, what else are you going to add?
Table knives.
The table knives. Okay, so like, okay, well, so you might do it. Come role play with me here. So now, I'm calling you Susan because I wrote
That's
Susan's
fine.
name down here. So you're just going to be Susan for me for a minute. Okay, so Susan, if you did, get some of these knives eventually down the road, where would you put them? Would you want to put them in a bigger block? Because actually, what we do is we trade in your little block for a bigger block, and you get a discount on it.
Oh, okay.
Would
Well,
you
then,
you'd like a bigger block? Okay. Let's pretend she said no. At that point, I'd show her the 5-piece tray. And then I would just simply add something like, because, you do want some place to store them, right? You just don't want to throw them in the drawer.
Right.
Okay? So, okay, well, you can do the tray. Or, let's say she was like, I don't know, I might do the block. How much is that? Okay? Well, the blocks are like $100, but I can give you a discount on it. Let's say she's a little iffy, then I would say, oh, well, let's put it on the maybe. Let's just put it on the maybe. So, again, if they are iffy on something, and they're leaning towards no, you can say, well, is it no? Why don't I just put it on the maybe? Okay, we'll put it on the maybe. The whole concept, the whole key, guys, to the wish list is it's just that. If you do the right thing, you say the right low-key things in the beginning, and you can get them open-minded to the wish list, that's what they think it is. They think they're like filling out a card to Santa Claus or something, okay? They're like, oh, yeah, I'd want that, and I would want that, and I want this. But what's happening is they're getting themselves excited about some of these things, and you're getting it on paper, and just wait till you see how you close it. Okay? So, at that point, I would say, okay, well, this would be the block I get for you. Now, you have 4 of the table knives, but the bigger block would hold 8. Do you want me to give you a price on the extra 4 table knives?
Yes.
Okay. She's kind of an easy customer, guys.
Table knives are crucial.
Table knives are crucial. Yeah, you really can never have enough of those, Miss Jones, because, I mean, I have like 20 of them, and I still run out because they're always in the dishwasher. I don't do my dishes all the time, so. Make some kind of self-deprecating joke there. Okay, so show them. All right, so at that point, we've upgraded to a homemaker at this point, okay? Now, let's say she had like a Hardy Slicer or something like that on there. Well, maybe I'd show her signature set or even an ultimate, okay? Sometimes you can get enough and look at the knives and say, well, really the only block that would honestly hold all this, and you don't have to get all the knives all at once, but instead of upgrading to a slightly bigger block and then one day adding more pieces and upgrading again to another block, we could just upgrade you all the way to the biggest block that we make, which you wouldn't have enough pieces to fill yet, but you can stick in some other knives from in the drawer, or, you never know what we're going to come out with next. So you can have some extra room. I mean, it's really not that big. Do you want me to price the biggest block for you? Or do you
I would like to see the price difference.
price
I don't know.
difference? Okay, now she's
Remember
getting difficult. Now she's getting difficult. Okay, guys, I'm glad she said that because I do get that a lot. And what do? And here's also what I do. I don't know, 6 or 8. How many table knives? I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 more. What are you going to price?
8.
You're pricing 8. I'm pricing an ultimate block. Okay? Then if I need to drop down, I'll price a signature set block. Or, let's say she says, I don't know, 6 to 8 table knives. I'll price 8 table knives. And then if I need to drop down, I'll drop down to 6. So I'm actually glad she did that, because customers do that. They're like, I'd probably either add 4 more or 8 more, but probably just 4 more. Okay, so give me a price on both. They'll say that. All right, well, I'm writing 8 with a question mark beside 6. Okay? So, good point there. All right, so let's wrap this up. Let's say we get, okay, so that's the set. All right, now I just kind of breeze through gifts and accessories real quick. Plant the seed for Christmas gifts. Hey, Miss Jones, you know, you're getting actually a really good deal today. Okay, so while I'm writing down prices, is there anyone on your Christmas list that this would make a good gift for? Have you ever thought about doing this as Christmas gifts? Blah, 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 blah. Hostess gifts, whatever. Keep flipping through. A lot of times they'll add on 3 or 4 cheese knives as hostess gifts. Okay, for all their Christmas parties they're going to. So flip through gifts and accessories. You know, ask them who they know it would make a good gift for, how many kids they have. Tell them we have a special discount for people who buy their kids gifts at Christmas. I know it sounds retarded, but we call it the kids program, and they literally buy it just because they think it's an actual program. Okay?
Yeah.
So you literally tell customers like, hey, Miss Jones, have you ever thought about, you know, getting any? How many kids do you have? You have 3. Okay. Are they like my age, or how old are your kids?
High school and 1 in college.
Got one in college. Okay. Let's say they said one that, oh, my one just bought a house or just got married or whatever. just say, you know, let's say they say that. Well, just say, well, have you ever thought about getting them Cutco for Christmas? I mean, I know that, you know, people these days can be hard to shop for, and I know it sounds kind of funny, but we actually have a program for people just like you that have kids that don't have Cutco that should. And you actually get a discount for buying them Christmas gifts. So I always recommend, and I show them Club Mates. You know, I always recommend this because everybody needs one of these, and you know how often you use that one. Or show them the cheese knife. If they're in college, the cheese knife doubles as a bottle opener. You guys know that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
loves that.
Oh, yeah.
College student,
Oh, yeah.
nice.
All
So
day.
yeah, tell your customers it's a college student knife. So anyways, guys, you flip through gifts and accessories. I'm going to wrap this up now. So you flip through gifts and accessories. The point is you're getting as much as you can on the wish list. So again, to go through the main points of the wish list, you know, hey, do you want me to price that out for you? I asked a lot, do you want me to price that out for you? Do you want me to just get a price on that for you? And they go, no, I don't know. Is it a no or is it a maybe? Like, oh, it's probably a maybe. Okay? So you can say, now if they say no twice, it's done. No, I really wouldn't have reset. Okay, cool. So I don't even put it on there. So you're not high pressure with it, but you do test the waters one time, and a lot of times you can convert them to maybe. So here's how you close the whole thing. At that point, you've gone through the whole book. You're like, okay, well, I'm just going to start jotting down some prices for you. And still, all at this point, they think that this is this grandiose wish list that's just, you know, I don't know, going to magically happen one day. Okay, which they don't realize today's the day. While you are writing down the prices, you're going to put them to work. Okay, and how you put them to work is this is where you ask for referrals. And you ask for referrals the same way, but I always say, and go ahead and jot down anybody you put the first time around, because then I'll go sharpen their knives too, for them. Because chances are they didn't know they can get their knife sharpened either. The thing of it is, how many service calls called you guys? None. You called them, right? Now, had you not called them, would they ever got their knife sharpened? Probably not, because they don't really actively search us out. Most of the time, they don't search us out to sharpen their knives. So the thing of it is, it's like, you know, hey, a lot of your friends that you gave the first time around probably didn't know they can get their knife sharpened either. So put them down too, and I'll give them a call and just go sharpen their knives. The thing of it is you do the approach, and then I have my calculator right here, and I just do my approach, pass the pen and paper, and then just start typing away at the numbers. So I put them to work, and then immediately my head goes down, and I get to work. So there's no objections there. So it's like, okay, so just jot down 10 to 20, and thank you so much. Okay? So just put them to work. So here's the deal on the wish list. To close this out, guys, I'm going to make up numbers here. Let's say we've got this wish list to $1,400, and we'll get that down to $1,100, that's like $250 a month. Okay. All right, so here's how I close it. Basically, when I get it all ready, I'll actually interrupt them. If they're still doing leads, I'll interrupt them like, oh, okay, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. You can get back to this in just a second, but I've got to show you what I can do for you here. Okay, Susan, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. Now, at this point in time, a lot of times they've probably got 1 or 2 in their mind they think they're probably going to buy. Okay, so here's how I address that. All right, Susan, just so you know what I did. Just so you know what I did.
Just so you know.
I did too. Just so you know what I did, Susan, I actually went ahead and put together your entire wish list, which I know you weren't thinking about buying all that today. But here's what I can tell you. Just so you know, if you decide to get a couple pieces today, okay, and you got a couple pieces down the road, and you got a couple pieces next Christmas or next year, this whole entire wish list adds up to over $1,400, okay, and that's not even including tax and shipping every time you order, okay, that's if you just bought it piece by piece by piece, okay. Just so you know, if you decide to put together the entire wish list, just rip off the Band-Aid and get it all over with, I can actually give you a major discount, saves you over $300 off the entire package, brings it down to only this much. And then, do you remember how I said the company lets you try it out first? Okay. Well, all it is today out of the budget is $250 on your debit or credit card, or whatever the number is. This much on your debit or credit card as a deposit. Now, that just allows me to get everything shipped to you. You get a full 3 whole weeks just to get in the kitchen, try it out, experiment with it, see what you think about it, talk it over with your husband if you need to. And if for any reason you get anything at home that you don't like or you won't use, it's 100% refundable or exchangeable. It's just on trial. But of course, when you get it home and you fall in love with it, like most people do, they actually credit that as a payment, and then all it is 4 more times on your debit or credit card, no interest, nothing like that. So all it is out of the budget is $250 once a month, and that gets you everything. So Susan, that was, and you spread it out, okay? So you literally, now I would do that, by the way, before I close it. I would take everything they were looking at that I had, I would spread it all out, and Susan, that gets you everything. That included, see, I'm not letting her talk, okay, until she knows the entire thing. Okay, that included the full set upgrade with the extra 6 steak knives, because a lot of times they're forgetting what's on the wish list. So that was everything, Susan. That was everything on the wish list. Okay, so that included the full set upgrade, all extra 6 steak knives, the 2 gifts for your kids for Christmas, the barbecue set that you like for your husband for his birthday next week, the garden tool set for your mom, and the ratchet printers for you. Whatever, right in the last minute. Whatever was on the wish list, okay? So that's everything for only $250 today.
Sold.
Okay. Cool.
What would you do if she was like, I don't know, I wasn't expecting to spend that much today.
I totally agree with her. Like, yeah, I know. So let's so they say, when they're like, oh, I don't know, I don't think I really wasn't planning to spend that much money today. Like, okay, cool. Like I said, it was just an option, just to let you know. So that did include all the maybes, okay, the ones you're really iffy on anyway. On the maybes, is there anything that you want me to move to the yes side that you like? Or are the maybes you just really don't like them?
They're alright.
Okay, so why don't I just write down the price for the maybes? And sometimes, guys, if I think, because you'll get to the point you can gauge the customer. Most of the time, by the way, I'd say 75%, that's done. That's a done deal. 80% when you get good. Okay, but let's say you can kind of maybe think that they were going to say that. Go ahead and just do a price on the back of the maybes. Okay, let's pretend, whatever. Okay, alright. So if we took off the maybes, those are the ones you're iffy on anyway. You can always get them down the road later. I can still give you a really good deal on the yeses. Just so you know, that would bring it all the way down to only $535. That's only $142 down today, so it's almost half. Okay, so but that still gets you this, so the full set upgrade, and the extra steak knives too. That's just taking off the Christmas gifts. You can always call me in December and order those too. So, does that work a little bit better for you?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes you can say, does that work a little bit better for you, or would you like for me to show you something slightly smaller? Okay, does that work better for you, or would you like for me to show you something slightly smaller? Slightly smaller. Okay, now let's say that you had to drop down past that, which is really rare for me, but if so, then you basically take the yes and say, okay, now which 2 to 3 things could you live without? Okay, and then cross off 2 and give them another price. And then the bare minimum, do a buy 3, get 1 free. Say lovey. Or say finny. Say lovey is. Alright, that's it.
Alright, guys, so